What's up guys, this video is a part of the 50 Rust project playlist series on my channel. So in case you didn't know about that, go to my channel playlists and there's a 50 Rust project series and we're building projects with Substrate, Solana and just Rust as well. Now in this video, we want to install Solana. So by now you probably already know that Solana is built with Rust, and also the smart contracts that you write in Solana are written in Rust. Just like you write smart contracts in Ethereum for Ethereum in Solidity, you write smart contracts in Rust for Solana. And installing Solana is not very straightforward. All right, it's slightly complicated. Now you know that whenever I teach Golang or Rust, any programming language or any technology, I don't really show you a lot of installation. I don't waste time because installation is easy, right? But with Substrate and Solana, these kind of technologies, installation is not very straightforward. So that's why I showed you installation for Substrate. Now I want to show you installation for Solana. Now this video is going to be called, I think I'll call this video a test project with Solana, because essentially you're building a test project for Solana, which is a sample project which we'll run. So you won't require a lot of Rust skills right now, like you won't use any Rust concepts, but you will use all your Rust knowledge to build stuff, to get things started. So all of that will be used, right? Not exactly Rust concepts, but to build Rust and all of those things, which in my opinion is also is very important. Is like almost 50% of what you will be doing, because you want to get projects to work together, things to work together, right? So you want to be really good at that also, and not just Rust concepts, because you won't be using them in isolation. All right, so like I said, installation of Solana is not very straightforward, and there are a few steps that you have to follow in the right order, and many people are not able to get it. The documentation is also not very clear, and documentation keeps changing. So I thought, why not create a video on that? And I keep, as you probably know by now, if you've been following me, I keep changing my machines very often. I keep changing my custom PCs or my laptops. I keep changing them very often, and I have to keep installing like Solana or Substrate or something like that in all of these new computers, right, that I keep buying. So I just did this recently, like about 3 days back, and this is why it's very fresh right now, right? So it's the 5th of November. This is very fresh. So before it changes, right? Every month or so it changes the things, because there's so many steps, right? Something gets updated and the whole process falls apart. So I think this is valid for like 1 or 2 months, very easily valid. But after that you need to change a couple of things. And I have a document here for you guys, and as you can see, there are people who are already looking at this document because I shared it on my LinkedIn profile. So people really liked it. That's how I thought I should create a video about it, by the way. And this document is something that I'll try to keep it updated. I'll try and keep this updated so that you always have the latest steps. I'll try to. I mean, I'm not promising, but I'll try. If I have the time, I'll try to do that. So what I'll do is I will take you through this process now, right? These diagram, this whole flow chart, and then I'll take you through the documentation. And then we'll actually install Rust, and so we'll install Solana. So we'll install while going through this documentation. Now there will be some steps that I will not do on my system, because I've already done all of this, right? I will only run some steps, like for example of checking the versions, all of these, but I won't do the steps where I have to install things again, because that can really mess up my installation, which I don't want. All right. And I don't have the patience to install it from scratch again. I just don't have it. I don't have the time. So I hope you're fine with that. Okay, I'll run some of the commands which are just checking the version and all of that, but all the other commands will tell you when to type which command and how to go about it. All right, so let me first take you through the process flow first. All right. So this installation guide is for WSL or for Windows only. Okay. Now I am a heavy Linux user. I've always been, all throughout my life, right? But for things like Substrate and Solana and Near protocol or anything that you do with Rust, right, I would recommend, or the advanced projects that you build with Golang, like Hyperledger and all of that stuff, I would recommend that you use Windows and you use WSL. WSL is basically using Linux on Windows, and then with the help of WSL, you can launch multiple different versions of Linux. And what happens is sometimes some technologies don't work with, let's say, 20.04, or some that don't work with 22.04, some don't work with 18.04. But with WSL, you have the option of spawning all of these instances inside your Windows machine itself. So that's why I use WSL. So this guide is for WSL, and for Linux also it will work. For Mac, I've never used Mac, so this is not for Mac. And also, if you're using Mac, why do you want to install Solana and Substrate and these kind of things, right? This is for your Mac system will give up midway. So do Solana and Substrate only if you have a lot of space on your system, and if you have a lot of processing power. Only then work with these kind of technologies. Honestly, because I've messed up many laptops working with Hyperledger, Solana, and Substrate by now. All right. So WSL. So the first thing we'll do is we'll install curl. And in the beginning, you won't realize this. So when I say, right, you'll mess up your laptops, many people don't realize it in the beginning, but slowly when they build more projects and they install more projects, then they start understanding what I've been saying all this while. So only do all of this weird stuff if you have a huge PC or whatever. All right, then you install curl, and then you will. So many people don't even have curl on their systems, right? So you gotta get that. Gotta get NVM, which helps you to manage node versions, node version manager. At this point, you can restart your Ubuntu shell. It's a good practice. Then we'll get Mocha for testing. This is for Node.js. Okay, so one thing that I didn't tell you was that we won't be just installing Solana. We'll be actually also installing Anchor. Apart from Solana, we'll be installing Anchor. Now, Anchor is very similar to Hardhat. If you've used Ethereum, you probably have used Hardhat, which is like a complete framework, you can say, to help you build those smart contracts and deploy them very simply. So the Anchor guys, they just took reference from Hardhat. I don't know which one came before the other, but I'm pretty sure, from my estimate, I think Hardhat must have come before Anchor. And then Anchor basically works on Node.js, right? Just like Hardhat. So it helps you build, it gives you a project structure, helps you build a project quickly and then deploy it very fast. So that requires Mocha to test it, because Mocha is for JavaScript, right? Yarn to get that project. And then you obviously need Rust, because Rust is the core crux of this whole thing that the whole project series, right, that we're building right now. So we'll check three things: Rust up, Rust C, and Cargo. Now, hopefully by now you have all of this sorted, right? In case you've been following my Rust project series till now, you probably have all of this sorted, but in case you don't, I'll still take you through this, and the documentation has all of these steps. All right. So then after we're done with all of this, right, then we'll get Solana. So after we get Solana, we'll check the version for Solana. Then we'll set the configurations for our local host, because we'll be starting off a Solana node, just like you do with Ethereum, right? With Geth, you have to start a new node on your system in the local host. This is the same thing we're doing with Solana. With Substrate also we did the same, right? We started a Substrate node on our local system. So we'll do the same. And then we'll check the value for the config after setting it. Then we'll start the validator node. If all the values match, they're okay, then we'll set up our validator node, and then we'll basically check the validator node. Is it working or not? And after that, after we're done with Solana, after everything is sorted, like the validator node is working, all of that. So the second part will start, where we install the AVM. Okay, which is Anchor Version Manager, just like NVM. So these guys have taken heavy reference from not just Hardhat but also NVM. So here we'll do these 4 steps. We'll pull this from GitHub. We'll install it, use the latest version, and then we'll check the Anchor version to see if everything is working fine, right? So all these 4 steps. All of these steps have their own sub steps. Okay. Then we'll create a sample project with AVM. So AVM will give us a script to help us set up a Anchor. A sample project. Then we'll generate using keygen. We'll create our wallet and check the address of the keygen. If everything is fine, then we'll test. Here somewhere we'll also open the project up, this sample project up, using our VS Code editor, right? And then we will just build that program. Anchor test will build that entire program for us, and everything it'll test it out. Everything will work fine, hopefully. Right, and now the most important thing is this sample project, right? From the next videos onwards, we will start manipulating this, and this is where we'll actually write our custom smart contracts. So let's not jump ahead of ourselves. First, I want you to get the installation process perfectly. I want you to get accustomed to this sample project. I want you to get accustomed with Anchor and then this sample project when you look at it in VS Code. Okay, and then from the next video onwards, we'll start creating our smart contracts for Solana. Okay, so this is the process. Now I'll take you through the documentation also. Because if I take you through it, it'll save you time later on. So this exactly follows this board. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll also leave a link to this board in the YouTube channel. So let me change the name of this board, Solana installation. I'll make it Solana installation, and I will make this accessible to anybody. Okay, so all of you can view it. I'll copy the link. I'll paste it here. Whimsical. This is the process. Okay. Then you basically look at the board, open up the board on the side on one tab. You look at the documentation, you install curl, right? That's the first stage, installing curl, checking it, then getting NVM, and then if NVM is installed properly or not, right? And then you install the latest Node.js version from NVM. Then you get your Mocha, Yarn, and so you get your Mocha and Yarn, and you get your Rust with Rust up. Then you check with Rust up, Rust C versions, and Cargo versions, like I showed you. So the documentation is an exact representation of what we're exactly doing, right? Rust up, Rust C, and Cargo. Then you will get Solana, and then you'll check version of Solana, right? Ideally, we'd be done here. If I was just showing you in Solana installation, we'd be done here, but I want to take it a step further and actually show you how to even use Solana once you've installed it. So the way to use Solana is to config it for your local host, and then you get the config. When you get the config, you get all these local host WebSocket URL and RPC URL. All of them have been set for your local host. Okay, and then you need to start a validator node. So you do that with the help of Solana test validator command, and then you install the AVM, right? So you do 4 steps: get from GitHub, right? Install latest and use latest, and then check Anchor version, right? Install, use the latest version, check the Anchor version. There is one step here in between, which where I've said that in about 50% of the cases. So this is important, right? This is very, very important actually. In 50% of the cases, Cargo install for Anchor will fail on WSL. This is because most of us don't have libSSL and build essential packages, right, from scratch. So if your Cargo install fails, you want to get all of this. You want to run this command, get all of these packages so that everything works fine. And then once you see a proper version for Anchor, then you create a sample project. You create a sample project with Anchor, and then you CD into it, obviously, and then you create a wallet, check your address, open it up with VS Code just to check the sample project. Then you get the Anchor running, and if you get a message something like one passing, in the sense that it's the project is passing, that means you're successful. And so having done all of that, we would have installed Solana, we would have built local project, and we would have tested it. So this document is accessible to anybody. It's always going to be public, right? And I'll try to keep it updated if possible for me, if my schedule allows me to do that. And now I will actually take you through this documentation and also try to show you how it looks on my PC. So now I'll be showing you how everything looks in my terminal, right? So for example, the first command, which is for installing curl, you just have to run this command. And since I already have curl installed, you always want to check, right, for the version. So I have 7.68.0. So in your case, after you run this command, you need to have something like this, curl 7.68.0. Now I don't have this in my documentation, but this is something you want to check for everything, curl minus minus version. All right. Then after you run the NVM, right, and you get NVM, you want to also check for NVM. So I'll say NVM minus minus version. All right. Now the benefit that you get with NVM is you can get list of multiple different Node.js versions, and then you can use any version that you want. So that's why we want NVM here. Okay. That means if I check what's my node version, I'll get 16.14.1. So these are the kind of outputs that I want after I run these commands. Okay. Now next are Mocha and Yarn. So here you can check Mocha minus minus version. It's working. Yarn minus minus version. Perfectly fine. So you have to run these two commands, but it's quite possible that you already have these, and it's quite possible you already have Rust as well, since if you've been following my channel for a while. So we'll just check if everything is fine by Rust up minus minus version, and then we'll check. So it's 1.25.1, and we'll check for Rust compiler minus minus version. What's the version right now? It's 1.64.0, and then we'll also check for cargo minus minus version. It's 1.64.0, and then after running this command, right, this is just one command you have to run. You'll get Solana. You want to check for the Solana version. So I'll say minus minus version. Solana also works perfectly fine with me. And you can set your config for localhost, but since I've already done that, I won't run the set command, but I can run the get command at least. So I'll just get the command, and I'll show it to you that everything is confirmed. Like I have the RPC URL. This is what you want to see, right? You want to see the RPC URL, WebSocket URL. All of these need to be commitment confirmed. Everything works fine. Now the main thing here, the biggest thing here is Solana test validator. If that's working, you're sorted. So I don't know why it's not getting copied. So I'll just write it on my own. Solana test validator. Right, so if this starts, right, it says processing slots and showing you new blocks that are getting created, gossip address, JSON RPC URL, all of that, that means the validator is working perfectly fine on your system. Always, when you stop a server, use Control-C. Okay, don't use Control-Z, don't use Z, use Control-C, because what happens is your, your ports are not released sometimes when you use Control-Z. Okay, so wait for a while. Sometimes it doesn't stop because it's going for a graceful shutdown. So wait for a while after pressing Control-C. You'll see it closes down after a while. Otherwise, press Control-C again. Okay, then you will get AVM, right? AVM install, it does all of that. So which is basically Anchor. So I'll just check for AVM minus minus version. What's the AVM version? 0.25.0, and I'll check my Anchor version. Okay, so Anchor CLI and AVM are two different things, just like NVM and Node.js are two different things. That's why I showed you NVM version, I showed you Node version. Similarly, you have AVM, which manages Anchor versions essentially. So AVM has a different version and Anchor has a different version. Okay, in this case they're both same. With NVM and Node.js, that's not the case, they're not the same. All right, so time to create a sample project and using JavaScript. Okay, so let me now cd into the place where I keep my Rust stuff, and I will cd into Solana, and here is where I can create a new project. Okay, so obviously I already have a sample project, so I need a new project for YouTube specifically, and we're saying JavaScript because we know we want Anchor to use Node.js to build the project for us, and it takes a while to build because it's one out of 4 steps, and all of these steps, right, all of these steps, they will take a lot of time. So I'm just showing you this one step here, but all of the steps will take a lot of time, right, except for this one, which is like just generation of a new key, that's it. And obviously starting your own code editor. All of these steps won't take time, but like all these big steps where you're trying to create a sample project and setting up Rust or Solana, all of those things, all of those will take time. All right, so I'll wait and I'll come back in a minute or so. So what you're looking for is something like this: new project initialized and success, saved log file, blah, blah, blah. Everything works fine. You'll cd into this new project, and you can open it up in your code editor right now, or you can just do Solana keygen new, and okay, so it's already there. So in my case, it's already there. So I'll just check for Solana address, right? So I have a Solana address, and I'll open this up in the code editor. Cool. So this is what I wanted you to see. This is our first sample Solana project. It has a programs folder which has src and librs, right? This is an important file, and tests. We'll be writing our tests here. So this is an important folder as well. Migrations deploy.js is for deploying, and you get app.js, which is empty right now, right? So it gives you this project structure, right? The Anchor is giving you this kind of project structure where you have this complete toml file they're giving you, and basically saves time with this tests. You have this structure here which you can extend on, and then most importantly obviously is the lib.rs, where we'll be making some changes later on videos. And then you get node modules with node.js. You always get that. Then deploy files, you can change the deploy file as you want, but the standard one is okay for now. For the next few videos, we're perfectly fine. Right, so this was it. This is the project. This is what we wanted to get. Now we will just anchor test this whole thing. But to anchor test, you need to have a validator running. So what we'll do is, on a different terminal altogether, we will run our test validator. Okay, cool. And now validator is running. Now we can do our anchor test command here. So we'll say anchor test, and then wait for eternity. Wait for a long time. I think I'll just come back after like few minutes. All right, so as you can see, I got an error saying your configured RPC port 8899 is already in use, and that's because what I forgot. So whenever you want to run Solana, you always want to run the test validator. What I forgot was that the anchor test command that we just ran, right, sometime back, the anchor test command that we just ran, this also runs a test validator, a Solana test validator automatically. So you don't want to have a test validator that's running. Okay, so I know I showed you that you have to start a test validator before you run any commands, because that's how you run every single command with Solana. You always want to have your test validator running, except from the anchor test command, because this command, inside this command, there's already a command that starts off the test validator for us. Okay, so here you don't want to do it, just want to run it without starting a test validator. Just a second, I think. Yeah. So when you see something like this, right, one passing, this means, and this is the hash for the new project, obviously, transaction signature. So if you see something like this, one passing, that means it's working perfectly fine. Your anchor project is working perfectly fine. This is what you wanted, basically. So our entire process today has come to an end, because we've seen a sample project, we've done anchor test, we've got Solana running, we know how to start validator node, all of that. So everything works perfectly fine, and now you're ready to build with Solana. All right, so I'll put these two links in the description. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't already subscribed, you have to subscribe. I mean, what are you even doing? You don't get this kind of content anywhere on the internet, right? And especially somebody who's going to take so much pains to get the whole process for you guys. So thank you for watching, and do check out the other videos on this channel. I'll see you in the next video.